To my next question, so I'm going to go to Senator Tuberville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, panelists, for agreeing to be here today and taking time out. What a serious problem we have here. We've been working on it, a couple of years now. But even when I got here, I'm sure Chairman was working on it at that time, before then. Let me start by saying I voted against the final passage of this legislation. I've got 500,000 vets in the state of Alabama, and don't think I didn't hear from them. I knew it'd be a big vote, and that's why I approached it with an open mind. While this legislation was being considered, my staff and I met with numerous VSOs and heard from hundreds of veterans in Alabama. After many candid conversations, I made an informed decision to vote no, and my position remained consistent on every PACT-related vote. Sadly, my colleagues on the left here politicized this process, and we rushed it. To me, we rushed to pass this legislation. You know, I believe the bill, imprecise, unrealistic language only sets the VA up to fail. That being said, I hope y'all prove me wrong, because our veterans need help, need a lot of help. As a member of this committee, I want to be as helpful as possible to all of you. So, Mr. Jacobs, early this month, the VA announced that it would expedite claims for veterans with cancers to ensure they are getting timely access to the care and benefits they deserve. The VA also announced that it would prioritize the processing of claims for veterans with terminal illnesses and those experiencing homelessness. Question: with more than 136,000 PACT Act related claims already filed and existing backloads of 100,000 or so, how can you be sure that veterans with cancers are not getting overlooked?
Thank you very much for that question. You know, we have an existing prioritization ability that we implement right now, where if we know that a veteran is homeless, is experiencing financial hardship, is over 85, and several other categories, we are able to prioritize that claim for expedited consideration. We have 25,000 employees across the country, 60% of whom are veteran. They simply put, they get the job done. We are expediting cancer claims for the PACT Act because of the severity of the conditions often associated with many of these cancers and the length of time it's taken for us to be able to deliver these benefits and connect them to the health care that they need. So we have a well-proven process to be able to expedite those claims. We were able to execute that, and I would just ask you, to the extent you hear from your constituents who have cancer, or have one of these other elements that may require us to prioritize it, you let us know. We can expedite when we know that a particular claim meets one of these conditions, but if you happen to have that information, you let us know. We'll make sure we get the job.
But we are prioritizing, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. PTSD, you know, we're having huge problems with that. We're having people dying every day, and we need to do a better job with that. But that's another point. What about homelessness? Talk about that point. Where do you rank them? How do you go about categorizing that group?
If we have an indication that a veteran is experiencing homelessness, we'll be able to prioritize that claim for consideration. Oftentimes we do that in partnership with our VHA colleagues. We recognize there is no wrong door in VA, and so we provide wraparound services. We want to make sure that we're prioritizing claims decisions so that we can get the veteran and his or her family the benefits that they need to help them with their life. We also want to make sure, to the extent that they're dealing with the other issues, that they have the health care support and the other wraparound services that they need to help address the issues in their life and get back on their feet.
Thank you. Dr. Hastings, as you know, Section 801 of the PACT Act requires the VA to study the health of veterans who served at Fort McClellan between 1935 and 1999. However, during a recent briefing, VHA identified Section 801 as a challenge to implementation because, and I quote, sufficient data on Fort McClellan's veterans during this time period may not exist. Can you please elaborate on this issue and describe, you know, your conversations with the DOD up until this point?
Absolutely, sir. Through the Deployment Health Working Group, we exchange data with DOD at all times, you know, back and forth.
Correct.
It is a challenge to go back to 1935. As you know, some of the mortality records did not start until the 1970s. We are leaving no stone unturned to find the data that we need. We are also working with the Agency for Toxic Substance Disease Registry, who has a petition to look at Fort McClellan, so we are working with them also. I was sent to Fort McClellan 3 times for my nuclear, biologic, and chemical training. I was there for a week at a time. Fort McClellan had a very small cadre of permanent party, and people coming through there for basic training or for other training. It was very transient. So those records will be a challenge, but I can assure you we are looking everywhere, and we will get every record possible, going back as far as possible.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I'm out of time, and I'd like to submit my remaining questions.
Without objection, Senator Tester's asked me to chair for the time being, so thank you, Senator from Alabama.